Welcome to Animal Crossing, a series known for its relaxing atmosphere, endless gameplay, and sandbox elements thrown in there. This is a series widely known to be one of Nintendo's best out of them all, with 5 main titles across the span of 20 plus years, and with the series reaching newer heights with the release of New Leaf on the 3DS. I've always heard of this series throughout my life through YouTube videos of people showcasing their islands. However, I personally was never into the Animal Crossing series throughout most of the series' life cycle. I do remember New Leaf's rise in popularity being considered a must-have game for the 3DS. The only games I ended up having for that system were Super Mario games, Smash Bros, and the Pokemon Sun and Moon games for the 3DS. Even though New Leaf was a smash hit for the 3DS, I wasn't all too interested. Fast forward to 2020, my older brother bought a Switch, and Smash Ultimate was the first game I bought. But my older brother also remembered that Animal Crossing New Horizons was right around the corner, so he figured, hey, why not pick it up? My older brother was more interested in Animal Crossing than I was. He watched a lot of New Leaf content when it was crazy popular, so he was quite familiar with the Animal Crossing series. Funny enough, around the same time that New Horizons came out, a certain little incident happened. You all know exactly what I'm talking about, but regardless, we were forced to be stuck in our homes. I was only a young teenager at the time, so I had a lot of time on my hands. I know Doom Eternal came out on the same day making the funny memes, and funny enough, while I'm playing Animal Crossing, I started the Modern Doom series with Doom 2016. In other words, I've been ripping and tearing while living the island life. But Doom is another video for another time. Anyways, I ended up giving New Horizons a shot and I got hooked immediately. It was a great experience to play the Animal Crossing series for the first time, and I played the living hell out of it. My older brother was the main user, he started the island, he set up everything. I joined in thinking I can have my own island, but I ended up joining my older brother's island. Unfortunately, all footage of that old island is long gone and I erased it since then. However, I do remember all the great moments, the satisfaction of paying off those house debt, talking to your villagers, the simplicity of bug catching, fishing, the work, slowly building up everything to the way the island would be was great. However, after 150 hours of play, I stopped playing New Horizons completely. It was a year after I first played the game, and I do remember I just felt I ran out of stuff to do. I got my final house upgrade, decorated everything, got the clothes I wanted, made millions of bells via the turnip exploit. I felt there was nothing left to do after completing all of that. Now, one could say you can go as far as your creativity takes you. There was also one teeny tiny detail. I didn't run this island. It was my older brother's island after all. He was the one who could make significant changes to the island on his own accord. Now, I could have played on his account instead, but he was also actively playing it, so I never had the idea cross my mind. New Horizons has one island limited per console. So if you start up Animal Crossing on a different account, but someone else has already started up the island, you're merely just another villager rather than a contributor on the island, rather than being the one in control. I found this to be strange to say the least, but I was still able to enjoy New Horizons regardless. After both my older brother and I stopped playing, the island was abandoned. As I said before, I erased it after he said it was cool I could do my own island on the same console. He had a digital copy of New Horizons, and this was way before I bought my own Switch a few years later. So that island was erased, and I never did anything with that new island, so it was also abandoned. So that was quite the backstory of my history with New Horizons. Fast forward to 2025, it has been 5 years since the game released, and I never once had the thought of coming back to the game. Until recently, I got the physical game as a gift from a relative. To be completely honest with you, when I saw the physical game in my hands, I figured 2 things. 1, I might as well play the game again now that I have my own copy again. 2, this would make for an interesting video on my channel while also being 5 years since New Horizons originally came out all those years ago. So here we are with the physical game. It looks nice, the artwork is great, stands out well. I also have the Animal Crossing Switch here with me. I bought it from a friend a few years ago. I never got the box, but I did get the Joy-Cons, dock, Switch itself to match the Animal Crossing setup here. I do like the design on the special edition, having the nooks on a tiny island on the dock, the decoration of the back of the Switch console itself. You can clearly tell the Switch is banged up, but it still works perfectly fine. The Joy-Cons also have a unique color scheme with having white coloring on the background as well. These Joy-Cons, well, they do have some issues like not being able to connect sideways or the right controller rattling when I shake it, so using motion controls in other words. These controllers work fine if you're just using them normally. Alright, so enough rambling, let's finally get into the game of Animal Crossing New Horizons. So here we are booting up the game for the first time. We are met with Timmy and Tommy Nook at the airport. We ready up for the getaway to the island, so this is essentially your character creator. you can choose your hair type, hair color, eye color, etc. So you could make a character of a game or just create a character resembling you in real life, but I can't make a pig as a character, so I'll make do with a human. The options are a bit limiting, but not to worry, you can unlock them later on. I named myself a beefy pig, and we get the game going. While we are joined up by 2 villagers, on the plane there, prior to landing, I received a run through of the island life via this video presentation, and you hear that music that's oh so relaxing. Tom Nook gives us a tent to set up camp, and yeah, that's a small part of the tutorial done. The game doesn't truly start until later, but you have some breathing room once you get your home done. So when you first start off the island, you're limited, and one of those limitations is the music. It's a guitar riff that's looped. Funny enough, the track is called Prologue, so in other words, when you hear the song, you're technically still in the tutorial. Just something to think about for those that have played this game or are new to it. You slowly get eased into the game by Nook slowly introducing you to everything there is to offer, as this was not only myself but likely many people's first Animal Crossing game of the series. In New Horizons, you're a villager rather than a mayor in New Leaf, so it's different in that instance. Once the first few days go by, you live your everyday life. So that's catching bugs, fishing for fish, deep sea diving, which I remember wasn't available at launch since it was later added as a free update. The animals you can collect can be limited to a specific time of year. For instance, the great white shark here is only available during the months of the summer. However, when you first start out, you do have a small inventory and eventually run out of space. So what do you do when you run out of space? You can go to Timmy Nook and sell the animals or donate them to the museum ran by this owl called Blathers. He starts out in a 10, and then after you donate a couple of animals, he then upgrades to a museum. And it's not just animals you can donate to him. Fossils occasionally are found underground in the island for you to dig up, and have Blathers assess those fossils and then donate them. Slowly collecting and donating all the animals you've caught and then seeing at the museum is fantastic. I love exploring Blathers Museum, especially the fossil exhibit after everything you've collected. There's also the bug and fish exhibits to explore, but I haven't caught too many of those animals yet. I did mention Nook's Cranny, and this is a small store ran by the 2. See, I have one in my home, so I can ask him to turn the price whenever I need to. Nook's Cranny is where you'll sell your goods, and in exchange, they'll give you bells. They sell furniture, which changes daily, wallpapers, and floor decorations that also change daily. And the turnip prices were every Sunday in the morning from 5 a.m. to 12 p.m. This seller will show up selling turnips from price ranges from 90 bells to 110 bells. You may or may not sell them at a profit always, but can make easy profit by visiting someone's island through Nintendo Switch Online. And more importantly, these shops aren't 24/7. Nook's Cranny opens at 8 a.m. and closes at 10 p.m. Fortunately, you can still sell items even in after hours, with the catch being that the items sold are at 80% value, and you get the bells deposited to the terminal in the resident services the following day. And you have to drop them off in this tiny little bin, which sometimes I do even while they're open, just so I can save a little bit of time, considering you have to sit through a loading screen, talk to them, sell your items, then sit through another loading screen. I'd just rather do it in all one fell swoop. The next building so far is the resident services building, so you can handle all your house debts, Nook Mile stuff, or anything related to building stuff through talking to Tom Nook. Or you can talk to Isabelle and discuss island feedback. Discuss a certain villager, change the island flag, which I turned mine into a pig, and change the island tune, which are the sounds that play when you talk to anyone in the game. Once you build the resident services building, there's a bit more to customize, in which you can build bridges, build inclines to climb the higher areas without the need to use tools. Also, at first you can't access these areas since you don't have the tools, but later on you get the ladder and launch pool via DIY recipes. Building new places, bridges, upgrading your house takes a day in real time to do so. Upgrading your house requires bells, so you pay that off and can continue to upgrade your house. You start off with a tent, into a house, into a small room, then a bigger room, extra rooms on the sides, a second floor, and a basement lastly. While at the time of recording this video, I don't have all the house upgrades yet. This is what I remember from my last played, as I may have missed out on something. I am aware of the Happy Home Paradise expansion, but I personally never got it, and it is part of the Switch Online expansion, so maybe I'll give it a go in the distant future. Designing your home here is quite good. I like that there's a ton of space where you can store your items, because your inventory fills up fast in this game. Getting materials is done by chopping wood, hitting rocks with your tools, shaking trees for tree branches while getting stung by a horde of wasps every now and again. Anyways, you can use these materials to craft items, like your tools to use use, furniture to put in your home, walls to decorate in your home, some headwear, and items that can be used once, such as medicine to remove the wasp stings all over your face. The crafting system, it's fine in this game. I like being able to create new furniture just by collecting materials. It gives you that feeling of, yeah, I just did that. There's satisfaction from crafting a piece of furniture in all fairness. You get more recipes to make as you play the game, whether by purchasing them from Nook's Cranny, the Nook Miles ATM, and strangely enough, finding them washed up on shore. But here's my problem. Getting the materials required is already a chore to craft one single item. If you want a specific kind of wood, you're f***ed just because it's random and it makes it more tedious to collect a specific kind of wood. Want to collect iron nuggets but need a crap ton of them? Well, you have to redeem a Nook Miles ticket to get more iron nuggets. And there's a lot of stuff that you can craft in this game, which sounds good on paper, but in practice it just makes crafting feel very annoying to do. Like, I have a new DIY recipe, time to chop wood again and hit rocks just to probably get all the materials I need just to craft one item. It's a bunch of bloated effort. Crafting itself isn't a bad concept in this game, but it's not executed all too well. And these DIY recipes just tell you the materials required to craft it. So my reward for finding a DIY recipe washed up on shore is more work. Fun. Again, I like the concept, but it's tedious and annoying to craft things over and over again, especially your tools, because they break way too fast. And there's no way to tell the durability. There's no wear and tear, visual cues, no durability meter at all. They just break whenever they want to. The crafting animation is also long. While neat, it gets dull fast. Sure, you can mash the A button, but it doesn't really make crafting any less annoying. So what else is there in Animal Crossing? So basically there's this app on your phone called the Nook Miles app. So pretty much you're rewarded for doing everyday things on this island. You can get as little as 100 Nook Miles or as much as thousands of Nook Miles. You can use these at the Nook ATM in the resident services tent or town hall, depending on how far you're in the game. And just like that, you can get some stuff digitally. So it's like Disney bucks if you think about it. You can use these Nook Miles to redeem DIY recipes to craft, Nook tickets to go on an isolated island, which I'll get into later in this video. You can more importantly redeem more inventory space, so a third row of items and eventually a fourth row of items later on. But these achievement requirements are demanding, so how does one rack up that many Nook Miles? Well, here's the Nook Miles Plus upgrade, which gives you an easier way to earn Nook Miles through smaller tasks such as catching 5 bugs, taking a simple picture, talking to villagers. Interesting way of getting the player to do stuff that encourages you to talk to your villagers. But if you get Nook Miles out of it, why not talk to the villagers? Hell, you're the one who invited them to the island for a reason, but at the same time, why? It's just fetch quest designed as free Nook Miles, which in and of itself is grindy as all hell. You have to save up 8,000 Nook Miles to get the last inventory upgrade. You know how long that takes to get 8,000 Nook Miles? And it's not like you're able to get all the Nook Miles upgrades right out the gate, but it takes a lot of commitment, or a good amount of commitment, just to get your inventory maxed out. It took me 25 hours of playtime just to get my final inventory upgrade, and that's the max. You only get 4 rows of items, not 5, not more, that's it, just 4. But how do you unlock that final row of inventory? I don't know. It just pops up there when it feels like it. My only guess is you get a certain number of villagers here, or when you get certain Nook Miles achievement. The game as a whole is grindy as all hell, but that's my tangent on Nook Miles. I just don't like how grindy it makes the game, and I hope it doesn't come back in the next game. I mentioned the villagers briefly in my tangent, so I'll go further into talking about these. I think the villagers are great, as they are a staple of the series, and it's a no-brainer to have them here. You can have up to 10 in your island. They are there regardless of whether you choose to ignore them or actively talk to them. The villagers so far I have on the island is this pink rhino called Rennie, this blue rhino Hornsby, I like him, Audie this red fox was pretty cute, June this cute little bear, this cheese mouse Chatter, and this Donkey Kong looking one, Louie. You can have up to 10 villagers per island, and I'm currently hunting down this pink dog villager, Cookie. I will do whatever it takes to bring this dog to my island. Sometimes a villager will gift you an item, give you a new emote, which takes a while to unlock, which I don't understand why it's not available from the get-go, but okay, sure. You can kick out a villager if you want to, but I never had the courage to do it. It feels wrong. You can get some to move in by selling land and creating new properties for new villagers to move in. There's villagers in the Nook Miles island that can be redeemed, which take you to a remote island, which occasionally you'll run into a villager. I got Hornsby, Junie, Audie via these remote islands, while Chatter, the cheese mouse, joined at this tent setup that is later in the game. There's also a way for you to get specific villagers via amiibo, but I never dabbled in this. So let's shift shift gears for a little bit and go back to the prologue here. I consider the prologue to be done once you're able to build the resident services building here. You may be asking me, how long did that take me? Well, 25 hours. Well, sure, you slowly unlock more things to do over time. The first 25 hours of this game were a slog to get through. Since I was replaying this game, it was more evident to me. Now, a slow start isn't inherently a bad thing. All video games start off slow at some point to ease the player in, which can be done well. In the case of Animal Crossing, you really have to sink your teeth into this game for it to get going. Since you're not able to have everything at your disposal, you are restricted in what you can do. Later on, when you get the resident services building, Isabelle joins the island. So she introduces us the star system, and what is that? So the goal of Tom Nook is to get a concert of KK Slider, a famous musician in the Animal Crossing universe. In order to do that, we need a 3-star rating. What is a star rating system? It's basically a measuring system determining how good your island is, and at the time of recording this, my island is 1 star, and a lot of features are locked behind this game because of this star measuring system. And while sure, it may not be the hardest thing to get 3 stars for your island, it took me 30 hours to get a good portion of the stores on my island to be on here. So Blather's Museum, Nook's Cranny, which there's an upgraded version later on by the way, and the Able Sisters clothing store ran by Mabel and Sable. Initially, when you run into Mabel, you can't immediately convince her to join your island. Why? It's to pad out game time. Now, to be fair, if you could get everything you want, that would be great, sure, but the game would not have longevity. I feel this was the decision because Nintendo likely knew that this was going to be many people's first Animal Crossing, so they tried to make it a little slower compared to the standard Animal Crossing, which is what I'm going to assume here. I want to get this stuff done right now, but waiting a day isn't all too bad. There's always something to do even in the early stages of the island. You can decorate your home, plant flowers outside, and so on. Since we are nearing the end of this video, I'd like to share with you the most recent updates to my island. This new villager, which is a teal rhino, moved into my island, meaning I have 3 rhinos in my island at this point. The Able Sisters shop was built, so now I can buy clothes with a daily selection on top of that. More importantly, this is a big decision for me and a little bit of a confession. I time traveled. I never thought I'd do it, and I did it for the first time. I felt guilt for it at first, and I did it again and again, and realized this would make the process for my second part of this series to release a lot faster. Not to worry, I won't abuse this like crazy. I'll only do it just to build stuff like bridges, incline stairs, you know, that stuff. Nothing crazy like jumping a year, as I know the downsides of it, so I'm trying to use it as sparingly as possible. Since this is pretty much what I have on my island so far, I wish I could talk about much more, but looks like for now I'll leave it here, so I can keep playing Animal Crossing, and at a later date I can go much more into depth as I only have 30 hours of playtime, and that really isn't enough for me to get a full review or revisiting type of video for this game. So for now, I'll end the video and ready up for part 2. But in the meantime, I'll be posting a video on Doom 2016 and some other games so I can keep up my channel. That's all I really have to say for this video. So as always, enjoy yourselves and have a good one.